Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Night After Night, a podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Lisa Fernandes, and
I am Christopher Jayawardena. Hello.
And we're here to review High Neighbors. This is probably my favorite episode of the series, but one of them. No, it's probably number 2 on my list, number 3. It's my favorite episode of the season for sure. And it was directed by Alan Myerson. It was written by Michael, David, and Harry Shearer. And I'm sure most of you guys know who Harry is. I really don't have to introduce him too much to you. If you're a kid of my generation, you probably remember him from The Simpsons. He did a lot of voices on The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a very familiar voice.
Very familiar. And this is what the episode is all about. After Squiggy vents his frustrations about life lived with his mother and stepfather in their apartment to the girls, the final straw of that being he was asked to serve as a waiter at his stepfather's poker game, Shirley suggests the boys move in together. Lenny's reluctant since he's apparently of some use to his brother-in-law. He just helped them move the couch last month after all. And so he can't afford to go it alone. He's being ducked for squashing melons during delivery. The boys, however, do eventually take Shirley's advice and decide to go on an apartment hunt together. This hunt lands them at the girls' building. When Mrs. Havenworth, their landlady, asks Shirley to vouch for the boys, she does, and both girls immediately become entrenched in the middle of the boys' first fight, which results in Lenny kicking Squiggy out of the apartment, forcing Squiggy to bed down with the girls. So what'd you think?
Well, the main thing I have to say, first and foremost, is I absolutely adored the very nuanced and in-depth performance by Jeffrey.
Jeffrey's the best. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. And now, seriously speaking, though, you had kind of implied to me, as we were getting, into this show, that this was definitely going to be one of the high points. Completely agree. In many ways, I felt like this was kind of like the perfect blend. I mean, you've got your physical comedy, the character stuff, the zinger one-liners are really killer in this, timing, and there is some good poignancy to this. This is the bit where Lenny and Squiggy really genuinely get to kind of become characters in the show.
Yeah.
It really establishes their more friendly dynamic and the friendship they've shared, both with each other and with Laverne and Shirley as well. Like you feel more of the sense of, they're still kids because, around each other because they remember being kids. Like there's that element of connection. It makes it great. And, I think it's far enough into the show that there's certain things you understand about who they are, like certain details that then they get to pay off really well. Like in the first scene in the break room where the boys are having lunch with the girls, and when Lenny's leaving, he takes his ice cream and it's like, here, hold this for me. And he doesn't just put the ice cream on her, he puts the fudgicle on the L. Like that, it's like that's a payoff moment because we already know from the brawl in Dating Slump that you don't do that. You don't do things to the L, and yet you also know that a sign of them being friends for so long, Laverne doesn't kill him for that.
Yeah, the fact that she doesn't murder him says a lot about their friendship. It says a lot about how they interact, and it says a lot about how it's worked for them since they were like little kids, as they say, through school together. So you can kind of see how they've developed a way to exist without completely slaughtering each other over the years, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
This reveals a lot at first about the boys' living dynamics, the way they have grown up. We're going to learn a lot more about how basically abusive their mothers were to them, which becomes a big plot point for Lenny later on around season 3. Squiggy mentions that his mom locked him in the closet at one point. It's not in this episode, but that's coming up. It's deeper in the show. And so you can see these two guys, the way they're living. I mean, Eliza with his sister, we never get to meet. We never hear about again. and is apparently friendly enough with his brother-in-law that he's useful at least enough as a doorstop, so to speak, to
Right.
him.
Yeah, just he's
Yeah.
a remote forklift for moving couches.
Yeah, pretty much. It makes you wonder what kind of dynamic he has with the sister. We don't get to meet her. He doesn't talk about her ever again. But since it's a detail that Michael and David put in canon, I'm going to assume it's important on some kind of level, in
Right.
some way,
Right.
because it's an interesting little thing. It gets mentioned for a second and then boop. And of course, poor Squiggy. He's got this horrifying relationship with his mom.
Oh God.
Oh God, it's awful. It's like the worst possible relationship in the universe to have with your mother is what he has, where they just insult each other, and she makes him walk around with the cheese ball at her husband's poker game and all that stuff, and he wants to do his break free, and he breaks free.
Yep, and I mean he's even still like I'm trying to find a better word than whipped, I guess. Brainwashed, actually. That he still calls her mommy. Like I love that argument on the phone. It's like, and the same to you, and and 1,000 more, it's yada yada, and then mommy, and then hangs up, click.
Goodbye, mommy.
Yeah.
Goodbye, mommy.
Yeah.
It's that's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Ultimately, this also leads into the way the show treats their friends. They become found family for one another.
Mm-hmm.
The boys become found family for each other. The girls become found family for each other, and they become found families for one another, the boys and the girls. And while Laverne has this kind of semi-dysfunctional relationship with Frank, he's at least like present. He's like the only really positive family relationship we see in the show for any of our main characters. And I don't know if you're going to make an argument for Barb later on in the series. Season.
Yeah, that's gonna be because I know where we're headed with that. You and I have gone through so much of the show.
We've completed season 1.
Yeah, we've completed that first season, and yes. Sorry if I get distracted for just a moment. Sorry, breaking news update, everyone. My mother just texted me a picture of the cookies that are ready in the kitchen downstairs.
I'm very jealous of you.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, there's the found family, and Barb will be interesting to see how that kind of becomes part of that with her appearance at I believe it's the last episode of this season, right?
Yes, last episode of the season. Yep.
And so it'll be, and I think that's also what I really like about this episode as well, is as you're talking about found family aspects and about how they're dealing with also being out on their own, that they're like the boys are still doing that move out process away from family to have their own independent individual lives. The girls have been out for probably, it's implied like about a year, maybe 2.
Yeah. And Frank's still trying to manipulate Laverne into moving back into the house.
Oh yeah.
That becomes mentioned more.
Like often. In Fake Out at the Stakeout, whereas he's like immediately like, all right, you're moving back in with me. And it's like and both of yous, and which is either the implication that Shirley had to do that out of necessity, or that he's like, so like you're gonna stay home that I'm even gonna bring your friend with you, And so here though, it's like they're kind of redefining their dynamic. I mean, that's what I really love about this episode is it's kind of relatable in that way. I mean, I'm going to try not to get too personal about this, but like I'm in my early 30s, mid 30s about now. And I still, live with my folks. It's not, nothing necessarily I'm proud of, but it's a situation that is what it is. Myself and
many people are in that situation.
Absolutely.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, I have
nobody's got any money. Nobody's got that way. People want to be there. People, if you want to be with your family, be with your family, Nothing to be ashamed of, I think.
Yeah, it adds this great aspect to seeing the four again, like as we can keep coming back to, is like the 4 of them working against an obstacle, and like here, it's even still is in some ways the 4 of them coming up against the obstacle of the first fight, and that and this is a pretty typical trope. I mean, even Futurama did this really well with the first roommate episode. I can't remember the title though. I think it's the 3rd episode of the show where Bender and Fry move in together. It's a typical thing, but this felt like they were coming together and they all kind of grow through it. which is, again, just
Yeah.
I really like this episode for a lot of reasons, and
I
that's
know.
definitely one of them.
Yeah. We kind of return to this theme as the show progresses into the LA years. And there's a really like poignant moment where everybody kind of realizes they're approaching 30. And the show does deal with that. And it's really interesting. It's a lot deeper than you think a sitcom like this is going to go. Well, that's the future. That's all I gotta say, but... And then season 8 happens. Anyway. This is one of 2 times we see Mrs. Havenworst, who is the girl's first landlady. She's replaced next season by Betty Garrett, who becomes the wonderful Edna Babish. What'd you think of Mrs. Havenworst? A little bit we got to see of her.
I liked her. I really liked her. It was a wonderfully colorful character. I like that. Admittedly, this is a sitcom logic that the characters can yell things right outside the door right away from, like they're less than 3 feet, just plywood practically separating them.
Yeah.
And the other character can't hear it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of comic booky, I guess, in that sense. And so, I actually kind of like the idea that she is a little it's a sign that she's a little dense or hard of hearing, because it just makes her endearing and cute to me, because it's like she's so, because I love how sweet she is. It's like, oh, I just had some new tenants. They're friends of yours. They're asking you to vouch for them. You first meet Lenny and Squiggy, there are many people, especially in that time period, that would look at them as like, get these 2 greasers the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And her response
is
like...
That's Frank's reaction to them.
Yeah, and her response is so compassionate. I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
And she just sees them as nice boys who just need a little bit of shelter, a little bit of room.
Yeah.
And she just goes for it. And that is really... I never thought of it that way. That's really cute. That's really neat.
Speaking of them getting the apartment, we have to point out the line delivery of reading off what it's got. The 2 baderm, 1.5 ba. I don't have the rest of it written down. I was able to transcribe it, but yes.
Purple. And then Squig just looks at Lenny and goes, "What's wrong with your mouth?"
Oh God, yeah, and that whole this is writing wise, this is one of the most consistent episodes through the first season, and it really, like, the jokes, hit really. And what I like is the jokes are not always trying to like murder you with laughter. They're trying to give you a little chuckle, a joke that would belong in Sensible Chuckle magazine,
Yeah.
And then occasionally there's like a 1-2 punch, with a punchline that just grabs you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think this is just sort of part and parcel of how much David and Michael love those characters, have fought for those characters, and are determined to keep those characters the characters that they were doing back in college. Yeah, there's just this determination to keep them who they were, and you can see that quality just going through the whole episode, just from step to step, to scene, to bit to bit. But that doesn't mean the girls get a short shrift at all.
No, they're fantastic.
The girls are very much the girls, and they know how to write for them, and it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I especially love Shirley being unable, it's like, are we, as soon as they walk in the door, she can't do it to them. She can't say, no, I wouldn't want to, live with these guys.
Nope. She can't execute them. She just can't do it.
Yep.
Laverne is pissed, though. Laverne would gladly execute them for the moment.
God, yeah.
In that moment, in that second, she would have told them no and to go pound tar, but she does not. But that little bit that they wrote in, just with the 2 of them arguing over the checkbook, and Laverne has lost the checkbook and is somehow in the laundry hamper. It's somehow... It's so them. And all the little things like the girls do in this show, and the way they kind of mirror the boys in a lot of ways. Like Laverne eats tuna and scooter pies at one point, which is something exactly that Lenny and Squiggy would eat.
Mm-hmm.
But she still makes fun of Lenny and Squiggy for like eating what they eat, and having strange palates and doing what they do, and their ideas sometimes. And it's like, You're more alike than you think, kids. You're way more alike than you think.
Well, they even show that with how Laverne, when she's trying to help Lenny, like she's siding with him enough that like she starts arguing along with him about the what the fight is about, and it's like, yeah, it's like, well, with this and that, and I would think under those circumstances, wait, what am I doing? What am I saying here? And she catches herself, and then she starts laughing when Lenny, says the mean joke at Squiggy and says, it's like, yeah, will you marry me? And then she again catches herself. Why am I laughing? And so that's a great way, and again, that also connects to like, this is why they hung out as kids, because they they still like they got the same kind of jokes, they got the same type of they had the same types of interests and weirdness, and there's something like cosmically linking them. Maybe it's fate, maybe it's the writer's room.
Maybe it's the choice of the producers. No one knows. Actor dictated. No one knows. But that the boys directly call them their oldest friends in the world. And they are definitely their oldest friends in the world, especially at this point, because they're pretty much the only people they talk to from high school, from elementary school, except for Carmine. I don't know if Carmine just joined in high school or what. We know he and Shirley dated throughout high school. But the oldest friends in the world, I thought that was an interesting line. I really like that line. Just like, in a way, these are the girls they hang around with and have chased after them and lusted after them and wanted to be friends with them like ever since they were yay high. So this is one more step in the ever ongoing pursuit of them in a way. It's very it's very,
and it's good stuff at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of you can actually look at this episode and think about the dynamics between the four of them and the ways they interact. Remember what I said several pods ago about how Shirley and Squiggy would have great hate sex, and that is so reflected in that tag scene right after she asks him what all the screaming was in the laundry room. He pulls out his pink clothing and tells her, you screwed up, and she tells him to listen, but he tells her to get it right this time. She bops him, and he goes after her going, woman! Yeah, that's the dynamic.
That's the dynamic, yep. Okay. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I can... Oh, God. I just realized the situation I actually kind of relate to that. Oh, shit. Anyway, yeah. No, exactly, though. I agree. There's wonderful dynamics throughout that are like that. And I mean, even the way that she even tortures him with getting the apron and like she's measuring him, I assume, right? To make adjustments to make it fit him a little better.
Yeah. No, that's supposed to be a dress for her. This is an early establishment that they can fit into each other's clothing.
Oh, God.
Which is interesting in its own way.
Oh, boy.
Which is very interesting in its own way. That's a dress for her that she wanted to have done. So she says, don't tear out my base seam. When he tries to pull it off after Lenny fake proposes to her. And as my friend Shotset said, shout out to her, as she once said, he does that a lot. Her proposing. So that's technically his first canonical proposal. And he does do that a lot.
Lenny Kozlowski is the proposer.
The
Monday nights on CBS. Followed by The Equalizer with Edward Woodward. By the way, callbacks and details. Just real quick.
Go.
Did you notice the pink bowling ball in the apartment?
Yes. He
kept it. He freaking kept it. It's obviously not his ball.
I think it's supposed to be Karen's ball.
Yeah.
Karen never got it back. She doesn't deserve it back, but yeah.
Yeah.
You see, if you look around their apartment as the seasons go on, you can see little things they were allegedly they would probably have stolen, so to speak, like street signs and shots, beer signs, and all kinds of little things like that. You have to watch in the background the set dressing sometimes. It's really fun. Especially in their apartment. The girls' apartment doesn't change a ton until we get to LA. But their apartment, there's always like stuff in there.
Yeah, that was great. I love all the boxes and just the physicality of that set, how they use it too. Like he sits on a crate or a box and then a stack of tied with string books. Like they look like either like old textbooks or probably phone books, and that's your cushion on top of your seat.
Yep. Yep.
And now
Living the good life.
yeah, and
Living
then the good life. And then he and he goes to get his coat, and he has to like thrash through the boxes. I love that detail.
Yeah. Gosh, that happens more than once when we end up spending time in the boys' apartment end series. It's a lovely little detail. They never really do unpack. I will say their LA apartment is much neater, which is almost unfortunate. It's not completely neat, but it's neater. I will say that much.
Yeah, no, they're guys that have to just get a little polish on the place. They don't neaten up. They just the things that are in there are cleaner. That's all.
Yeah. There you go. Well, wait till we get to the bathroom jokes. There are bathroom jokes. They're coming.
Oh boy.
There's jokes. There's at one point they asked to borrow the girls' sheets, and Laverne asked them, "God, why do you want to borrow our sheets?" And Squiggy says, "They're hard." I'm just gonna let that sink in. Just let it sink in.
Oh.
That could be a joke that goes in multiple directions, and I'm amazed they got it by the censors. There's a lot of amazed they got by the censors of the show.
Oh boy, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
Gosh, but yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, it's interesting as we're bouncing around all these different aspects of this episode. What I'm reminded is that it's so full of stuff. I mean, there's scenes, there's jokes, there's like details. Like I have one of my notes here that says I really loved Shirley's green sweater, Yeah. And
which is cute.
It's really cute. And like even just the Godzilla reference, of course. It's like his mom's a regular Godzilla. Which of course that will always, as Lisa well knows, that is one of my many things. But yeah, it's just
let's surf that. Sorry.
Oh no! Just to finish my point though, it's just there's even like to think about all this, we still haven't gotten to the wonderfully poignant and funny resolution to the fight and argument. We haven't gotten to the amazing physical comedy, throughout. And I blanked for, I think that's what it is. There's so much stuff. I blank. Do I have a note on this? Yeah, that's it. The now shake hands. It's all right. Stupid. Like that is, oh God, there's so many.
That becomes the running gag. That's the handshake.
Yes. I'm so happy for that.
That's a running gag. What was the other thing that you mentioned that's a running gag? A lot of that shows up repeatedly. David and Michael established a lot of canon between the two episodes that they were credited with writing. They established a lot of show canon that ends up running throughout the series. Between this and High Neighbors Book 2. High Neighbors Book 2 introduces an important relationship that will run the gamut of the show from that season 2 on. That's going to happen. But I thought that was... They always have a lot of very careful and carefully constructed gags in these episodes that just build and build and build and build. And then finally you get the emotional climax at the end of the episode. So not only are the boys settled up, but there's this really great little plot thread. It's probably one of my favorite plot threads, where Lenny has taken his jacket and as a statement of independence, it's a spring jacket, it's red satin, kind of James Dean ripoff jacket, so to speak. I love that, so it's not an insult. That is no insult. With black stripes down the sleeves and red and white trim collars and cuffs. And he takes it to Chinatown and he has them put Lone Wolf on the back to try and, carefully point up his independence. Not carefully point out, say, "Screw you, Squiggy. Here I am. I'm an independent guy." Yeah,
because that's not what you do when you have a minor breakup with your best friend at all.
Yeah. It's like, look, I don't need anybody. I'm independent. That's his default whenever he's really upset with Squiggy and whenever he's really upset. Period. and but he's definitely not even
God,
even
why
when
can't
even at his
I hate that I can relate to that. I can relate to that, and it sucks.
he's my most relatable character in a lot of ways, and that's just like sad.
Mhm.
But he takes takes a jacket to Chinatown. He has them put that in the back of his jacket as a statement of independence, and basically flipping the bird to his ex best friend at that point ex best friend. And it turns out they have screwed him over and not given him an L, so it's one wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just so upset about it. And he's upset about it to the point where Laverne takes the jacket, sneaks it away, takes one of her L's, sews it on the back, and then gives it back to him. And that's just one of the nicest little bits of emotional resolution the show has.
Absolutely.
And it ends with the first kiss between the two of them, and that's nice too. So. She's not into it.
I was waiting. This entire we've been recording this for about 25 plus minutes. I have been waiting all this time for you to bring that up.
It's cute. You will know that in the 2 episodes the guys wrote, Lenny and Laverne get to kiss each other in both of these episodes. That happens twice. It happens in High Neighbor Book 2. It happens in High Neighbor.
Nice.
Hey,
you know, Penny Marshall was a pretty gal. I understand. Right. Laverne's a good chick. Yeah. She's a great chick. She's a wonderful woman. Yeah. It's a wonderful woman. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that.
Yeah.
That bit of consistency. Mm-hmm. And that's how it kind of starts. And that's how the relationship starts. And how she goes from just seeing him as this guy she's kind of friendly with and knows from high school and goes from elementary school, and he's always this guy who's peeping on her, and always this guy who's like trying to follow her around, and then she starts to see him as a vulnerable human being, and then that changes and shifts and changes and shifts and changes and shifts, and it shall with time. It's actually the relationship might have the most nuance to it in this absolutely broad sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
It might have the most, because it does shift a lot. It does change a lot, and it does really kind of almost, I won't even say it quite pays off. No relationships in this whole entire show pay off. Ooh. Not a single relationship does, and it's a pain in the ass. I will say that right up front. And it's frustrating. And it's annoying.
Another grunt of frustration.
But yeah, that's how that starts with them, and you can see the 2 different dynamics of the way they handle one another, how the boys handle the girls and girls handle the boys. How it's very fiery with Shirley and Squiggy, but she knows how to shut them up. And how Lenny and Laverne pretty much are the only 2 people who can kind of speak to each other on a level when they cannot talk to either Shirley or Squiggy. They pretty much are become each other's sounding board.
Mm-hmm.
Each other's then they when they're with one another, they are not like they are with anyone else in the show, and it's very interesting to really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that right away. I mean, I have a tendency when I go into shows knowing that there's particular ships about them, and I go in with a certain degree of skepticism. As an example, like, you know, when I finally watched Supernatural, this was after the Dean Castiel stuff had been, you know, exploding all over fandoms that had told me I need to watch this show. And when I finally watched season 4 of that show, it was like, yeah, okay, I see it. I get it. I mean, I don't see it in the show, but I understand why. But yeah, definitely with Lenny and Laverne, like there is a romantic platonic dynamic, you know. There's a romanticism to it because, as you're saying, like, yeah, there's a sounding board, there's this connection that they share that's kind of individual from their other relationships, because, you know, there's some friends you can kind of share the same type of friendship with those different people. I have plenty of friends that I can talk about the same stuff, get roughly the same answer, not really a lot of nuance, a lot of difference. But then there are those friends, and it can be platonic. There is a connection that I can talk to that person about things I can't talk to with anybody else, and especially about certain problems.
Yeah, and like there's a reason why people are like drawn to it.
Yeah.
And people are still drawn to that relationship, and people are still into that relationship. There's a compilation on YouTube with 70,000 hits. When you get 70,000 hits of people looking at those clips and going, wow, why didn't this happen? If you look at the majority of the comments on a scene from season 6 that got clipped out, the majority of those comments are going, why didn't this happen? So,
Wow.
but if when your audience sees it, and that's got 216 hits now, I think 216,000. So when you have your audience looking at this, going, huh, you know, it's kind of, yeah, you can kind of see why people invested in Shirley and Carmine. They were canon. They were really obvious canon. They should have been endgame. And really, the producers should be ashamed themselves that they weren't endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that harsh, but considering what season 8 does to the show in syndication, I almost feel like I should be that harsh, because it pretty much puts this dark cloud. And not in a How I Met Your Mother, this ruins the entire series for me way, but it puts a dark cloud over how the girls' fates work out in the end.
Mm.
And but when you see these relationships together and why they work, why people lean in this direction, you get a lot of scenes together with the two of them where they're both absolutely emotionally naked in front of each other. It's absolute emotional nudity.
Mm-hmm.
When she can't go see her mother's grave.
Oh,
she can't deal with the fact that her mom is dead. Lenny's the only one who understands what that's like, because his mom left him on his 5th birthday. Literally walked out and left him there alone with his cake.
Ow.
And he's the only one who gets what that's like. And when he suggests she hates her mother, she slaps him over it. But then they talk over it, and she says she doesn't hate him. And, she ends up kissing his cheek at the end of that. And that's like the example of the emotional nudity that they share with one another. It's like when Shirley becomes a beatnik. She turns to him for advice and literally tells Squiggy to go leave because she wants to talk to him alone. And Squiggy kind of just sits there at the other opposite end of the couch with a comic book reading it. He can't listen and read at the same time. And that's how it starts panning out. The deeper and deeper you get in the show, you go from her not being able to stand touching his hair and not being able to stand patting him, to the fact that she's like sitting there beside him in season 6 and sing with her hand on his knee, with her arm around him. The two of them are basically, there's no room for Jesus between the two of them as they're sitting on a couch eating popcorn together. And she goes from being utterly repulsed by him to contemplating what life would be like if she married him. As a last desperation move. And in her dream, it's not even that much of a desperate move. And she's pretty happy about it in her dream until Shirley gets involved, basically. Considering the canon future.
Man, for these future sense, previews of coming attractions are very, very fascinating.
Really fascinating. Oh yeah, there's a lot of feels and a lot of good stuff, and when you explain how their relationship switches up a lot, it grows a lot. Shirley does go to Squiggy and vice versa for advice, but Squiggy kind of keeps that distance between the two of them because he is absolutely convinced she wants to marry him, and he doesn't want him to get married.
Right.
She's convinced he wants to. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think you and I had this discussion already off air. I think, which was
I think so.
Squiggy's like the eternal bachelor kind of guy. Like he doesn't seem like he doesn't want to settle down, or if he does, it's kind of like something big and life change is going to have to happen. And so because of that, there's not really what Shirley seeks in a person he can't be. And so, they're completely incompatible, but yet there is a connection that they're still able to, there's certain common ground they can discuss.
Yeah. He says he considers her the female Squiggy at one point. And she just looks at him and stares at him for like 5 minutes after he says this, and it's great. But yeah, when you compare the boys and how they look at that kind of thing, he doesn't want to be with Shirley. She's going to tie him down and try to have his babies. He doesn't want that. At least he says that somewhere around season 4 or season 5. So this is like, no, must be careful with her. She wants me. I will give her little crumbs of me just so I can make her happy.
Oh my God.
He really does. That's how he feels.
Any kids at home listening, don't treat people like that.
Yep. No. Well, that thing is that Shirley doesn't want him at all, so it's like entirely different thing. But
I'm just saying, the breadcrumbs thing is kind of cruel in its own way.
Yeah. Well, he thinks if he just gives her a couple of kisses and gives her a passionate embrace, she will be happy and won't drag him into wedded bliss.
Oh my God,
so to speak. That's how his mind works.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to those episodes. I will be Bob Belcher. Just oh my God.
Wait till we get to the other stuff. Wait till we get to season 6.
So there was a thought I had. I was starting to develop about the dynamics of relation. Oh yeah. So the thing interesting also about Laverne and Shirley, Lenny and Squiggy, and talking about this dynamics and the similarities and things like that.
Yeah.
Laverne is more open to, like, say, physical stuff, and it's just interesting, this kind of like yin yang, or yin yang, sort of dichotomy, because you have her open to relationships in a physical sense. She's okay with the vodio do or vodio do maybe. And then you get to Lenny as her, the L alter. He's more open emotionally. He is okay with. He actually is like almost thirsty for that relationship he can tie himself to and immediately say, "Okay, I'll marry you. Marry me. Let's make this happen." And then Shirley is guarded physically, and that no one's ever had a good time with Shirley Feeney. And then Squiggy is emotionally unavailable. So it's just interesting, that mirroring.
Yeah. That's kind of like that mirrorverse, funhouse mirror version they are of one another sometimes. It's really actually very interesting. And depth, I know they did not intend when they were writing the show, but it's very much there. But yeah, that's Lenny's default. Lenny's default is marry me now. I will take you home. Do not leave me like my mother did. That's his default. It happens. It's a constant emotional thought line with him. If he gets anywhere within a mile of a relationship with what he wants, it happens in season 6 when he has a serious girlfriend, and she gets a position at Columbia, and she's going to leave California, and he says, "Okay, I'll go with you to New York." And they've been dating for like 2 months, and that's him.
Yeah, that's oh God. Yeah, that's one of those, it's a romantic ideal, but dang, it's not practical, not a good idea.
He is not practical at all. That's the thing. He's kind of like the romantic Shirley dreamer of the two boys. He's the romantic Shirley dreamer of the two boys. The only reason people do it is because they're crazy about each other, and sometimes with him. Well, Squiggy's the cynic. Squiggy's the utter cynic. Squiggy's like people. You can see his hard shell when it comes to people, and the toughness, or the mock toughness, so to speak. That explains it. Yeah, that explains that. That explains kind of the difference between the two of them, and the difference between the girls, and the difference with their approaches. So now when you watch the two main relationships, the girls are always paired off with the boys that way most of the time. You will occasionally get episodes with Lenny and Shirley paired together. You'll occasionally get episodes with you actually don't get very much with Squig and Laverne. You get this really great dream parody sequence in around in season 7, where the two of them portray mad, passionate lovers, and David gets to take a running jump at Penny and throw his legs around her waist and make out with her.
Oh my God.
It's really funny. Which is really good.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
The movements from that are also fantastic, by the way.
Oh God.
But yeah, but you rarely get to see them together. You rarely get to see him really lust after Laverne, and Lenny has like moments where he'll want to see Shirley naked or give her a sponge bath or like there's this one moment where they do kiss. Most of the time, if the boys are gonna mash the girls, it goes they pair off into those pairings that we've discussed before. But there's one scene where he actually does kiss her, and that is Bus Stop, and that's I thought that is it's such a rare idea that where the dynamic between them is very much it's more motherly. It's really more motherly. And that even though he wants to see her naked, she has this like gentle advice for him, and she's like she's patient with him. Laverne's more patient. When she's stuck trying to nurse him after he breaks his leg, she can barely stand either both his food quirks and the bottom of his sensitive foot, which we'll get to. Which is another thing I'm surprised got by the censors. This show is amazing when it comes to stuff that gets under the radar. I mean, the whole episode where the girls consume pot, the boys get high, and Laverne grabs a mirror to check her hair, and cocaine slides off of it.
Oh, God.
That happens in season 6. Banned by Nick at Night, kids. Banned by Nick at Night.
Man.
Oh, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's bringing back Rocco's Modern Life memories.
Yeah, but this is a debut of a lot of the boys' little accoutrements, so to speak. This is the first time we see Jeffrey.
Yes.
This is the first time we hear about Squiggy's moth. This is the first time we hear and see Squiggy play clarinet.
Oh yeah, I remember that one's coming back.
Oh yeah, it's coming back. It's coming up in a couple episodes, I think.
2 episodes. Yep.
Yep, 2 episodes. Yep. The first Shots Talent Show episode, which we get 4 of, and are a lot of fun.
Nice.
And the first time we see the Lone Wolf jacket, and that's a lot of their trademarks, the characters.
Yeah, I think from now on I will refer to myself as the One Wolf.
Hey. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately.
So.
This is.
Yeah, but. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go on.
Okay. I was just gonna say, so we're kind of winding down on everything, because I think that was really nice to be able to hear your thoughts about the dynamics and stuff. I mean, you clearly have had so much love for the show. You've watched it so many times. You've seen all of these facets of it.
Yeah. Way too much.
Yeah, the asset. I mean, I have my deep head canons about my stuff too, and my own. I see it there. Da da da. Even about my own work, which is incredibly narcissistic of me. Moving on. The thing though with this episode, I think, is just altogether it's a testament also, I think, to not just what the show itself could do, but what sitcoms in general could do. Because I've grew up with 90s sitcoms, and to be honest, I'm not a sitcom guy to begin with. I'm someone who I watched it when I was younger, but I mean, as soon as I hear laugh tracks, I just tune out most of the time for new stuff. And this was just a generally really good episode, period, of a situational comedy in this format. And it shows, I guess what I mean is, if you put this up against, like, say, an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec, even to an extent, some shows like The Good Place, I guess like maybe a mid-tier Good Place episode.
Yeah.
I mean, with apologies to Laverne and Shirley, mega fans, The Good Place to me is kind of almost, sorry for the pun, godlike writing. But I guess what I mean is that this episode, High Neighbor, really holds up against that, and I'm really impressed with what it's done. And with that in mind, do you think you have a rating for this episode?
10.
Yeah. I had a feeling you were going to say that. I'd say about the same. 9.5, maybe a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's too perfect of a blend to to really say like anything really missed. I guess, yeah. I mean, we've spent like the last like 45 minutes now praising the episode.
Yeah, I know.
It's gone.
I can't even really think of anything this episode does wrong. I'm sitting here trying to think of anything the episode does wrong, and honestly, I can't. I just can't think of anything it does wrong. It establishes so well what the boys do, what they like, how they interact with the girls, how this will work for the next, pretty much next 7 seasons until 6 seasons. Pretty much how it's going to work between the 4 of them, and how they see their worlds, how they see one another.
It's a really good piece of television.
Yeah. This is actually, to my surprise, it is not in IMDb's top 3 for episodes of the series, which really surprised me. We'll see if it's top 10.
I mean, obviously, I'm the newbie that has to, kind of go through, so I don't know if I will see. I guess I'm intrigued to find out if I see anything that pushes it out of that top 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say, like, of the season, this is my favorite. I think this is probably my favorite.
And as well, it should be. Surprisingly, it's not even in the top 10. High Neighbor Book 2 is in the top 10.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Why is Haunted House there? Well, Haunted House is okay. Anyway. The rest of the top 10 does not surprise me. Actually, the top 15 doesn't really surprise me. So these are really good. Okay. Yes, back on target here. But yeah.
Yes, back on track, as I always used to say in my own writer's room. Oh god, that just hit me. That writer's room was 10 years ago. Okay, maybe not use that phrase anymore. Okay, moving on. Yes, is there anything else we need to cover for this episode?
It just occurred. This just popped into my head. Was the fact that during that last scene, Carmine's trying to help the boys move in, and which is surprising because he does not want to spend time with these guys. Spending time with these guys is one of the most annoying things to him that he could possibly do. He tries to avoid it like the plague. Yeah, there he is moving their bed, which I thought was really funny in its own way.
I wonder if Shirley asked it as a favor so that the girls didn't have to do it themselves.
Possibly. They couldn't have possibly hefted that bed. They could have possibly hefted that bed. The boys could barely heft that bed.
And I love they have a bunk bed. It is the best thing. They're still kids.
I know. They are both mature in the weirdest ways and kid-like in the best ways. Those characters. They're just this wonderful mix of like everything in a lot of ways. I think there is a rumor that those bunk beds came from the Brady Bunch set.
Oh my gosh.
That's a rumor that was from the Brady Bunch set. I have never confirmed that entirely.
A very Brady bunk bed. Huh.
I thought that was a little very Brady bunk bed. That's good. What was I going to say? But yeah. That as much as the girls say they don't like them, they still don't entirely kick Squiggy out. At the end of the day, they're going to make him pull his weight instead of kicking him out, which is really fun in its own aspect. Because you can imagine him like being stuck doing their garbage if Lenny had said no.
Oh God, yeah. And I think that's part of the reason they let him stick around for a bit is I think they know that the two of them will drive him freaking crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's not to say anything negative against the two of them. It's more that they are aware of the incompatibility as roommates.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like, while the girls like absolutely have their fights over how things work in their house, and the boys just like eventually develop this relationship where Squiggy leads, Lenny follows, and Lenny himself says, "I'm not a leader." If you try to mash it up, you can wonder how it would work out in the end. Like if they were stuck having to share close quarters for more than say a week. Which never really quite happens in the show. But you can kind of picture it. You can picture how it'll work out. Kids.
Yeah, because that's the fun stuff. That's what we're here for. We're here to pontificate and think about these things and analyze and dream. Just dream a little dream.
Real dreams.
And then relate to things like I totally just was reminded of this while you were talking about the them living in the same space and all that is yeah. Squiggy taking so much time in the bathroom reminds me that I have friends that have stayed with me, and there are those that I've remembered that it's like, yeah, I can't do the roommate thing with you because of that 45 minutes in the bathroom.
Goodness.
Mind you,
yeah.
Mind you, it's not that bad, but I mean, actually, 45 minutes is pretty normal for like a full routine. But
yeah,
it is these days. You got to look presentable now.
Yeah,
Ugh.
Depends on what the heck's going on. Really, it really depends on what the heck's going on. Like, what parts are being shaved and what's going on.
Right.
The interesting thing about that is that he takes forever in there. It makes you wonder how long Lenny would take, especially after he goes to Laverne. I'll take a shower. He actually goes to her and offers to take a shower.
Oh yeah.
Just so she could claim whatever favor she thinks she owes him. And that's his immediate thought. So, and that's why we think these things, kids.
Yes.
Yes.
Privacy of your own homes and your own minds. Because we're trying to keep this podcast clean enough that we're still able to get on some of the platforms.
Yeah, we'll probably have that out. No, I'm kidding. Right? Oh God, the show. The show doesn't keep it clean.
I mean, hey, you said it, in the bachelor party episode. It's a horny show.
Yeah, it's an amazingly horny show. We haven't even gotten to the stripper episode. We haven't even gotten to the all the other stuff that happens. God, it's an amazingly scary, horny show sometimes. I said that
we'll get there.
I said that during the tweets. We do live tweets. We do live tweets, kids. Join us.
Yes.
And I said that, God, this is the horniest sitcom that ever existed, and sometimes it just feels true. Sometimes it just feels true. Oh, okay. So I guess that wraps it up.
Yeah, I think it does.
Watch this episode.
That's amazingly mature note to go out on.
We're adults, we promise.
Anyway, so thank you all again so much for joining us. And if you like this episode, please consider following us on Twitter. We promise we will have much cheaping and tweeting rather than twitting. We also are on the Book of All Faces, or the Facebook, as my understanding is actual people call them, and not strange nerds like myself. There is also a Patreon, which has some incentive. It should by now, I think, have the incentive rewards that we're kind of looking at. So if you want to support us and help us get a little extra push, go ahead and take a look at that. And you can find so we are night after night PC on Twitter, and Night After Night Pod at gmail.com, or Night After Night Pod on Facebook, Tumblr, and I believe on the Patreon as well. So, yes. But anyway, yeah, thanks again for joining us. So the next episode, I believe, I just looked at which one we have next. It involves one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite one-time characters. And and yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's about in these trying times, about trying to come together despite language barriers.
Yes. A German delivery man passes out in the girls' living room, and they try to help get him a job. It's how you say "Are you dead" in German.
Yeah, it's a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to revisiting it and getting to do up all the notes and stuff. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, it definitely will be.
And I guess with that, join us, won't you?
Join us. Join us. Join us. Join us.